Hello folks, welcome to episode 12 of GingerLion's Agrarian Skies Minecraft playthrough. If you recall, last time I built my house and I was talking about upgrading my power generation. Well, thought about it quite a bit, and I think I'm going to go two-stage with this one. First, I'm going to start with liquefacted coal. I have a pretty good collection of coal here, and I know that pulverizing it makes sulfur, which I have a reasonable amount of, but I need quite a lot. The reason is twofold. One, sulfur allows me to make my flux capacitors, which I need. It also allows me to make pyrotheum, which is a necessary component of production of tesseracts and the higher tier thermal expansion products. Finally, I just upgraded to mod pack version 2.0.3, which has big reactors installed, and yellorium, which is what you use for power production in big reactors, is made with sulfur and pulverized tin. So I want to have an excuse, if nothing else, to pulverize all of my coal into coal dust. And one of the best things that you can use coal dust for, this pulverized coal, is you can run it through a magma crucible and produce liquefacted coal, which can then be used to run a compression dynamo. So I am going to make myself a magma crucible and some redstone conduit. Oh, by the way, in between episodes, I sort of disabled this export bus and set this up so that it can output to either the back or the side. The reason for that is I've set up a second fluid transposer over here, which I've been using to make more redstone conduit and preparing to use to make energy storage devices of one kind or another. So, also, I need to move all these machines. I really don't like them just sitting out here. I'd really like a machine room of some kind. The first thing I do, like I said, I'm going to make myself a bit of a power plant, and for the moment I think I'm going to put my compression dynamos and any non-dangerous power plants right down here in my basement. I may make that my total machine room. We shall see. I decided I don't need all of the extra blocks down there, and it's good, safe storage space. So, I'm going to make myself the stuff I need, and then I'll be right back to show you my build out. Okay, folks, so I've got a little bit of work done, and I wanted to show you the first steps of what I'm doing. You'll notice I've got ME cable in my hand, and I'm sort of running it through a trench over here and connecting it to my assembler. Now that's going to produce a little bit of a problem if I ever take that assembler apart, which frankly I intend to do moderately soon, so I'm not just going to connect to the assembler now that I think about it. So let me extend this trench just a little bit further. What's the best way for me to get to an ME connection here? I guess I'm going to have to deal with making, for the moment, a little bit of an unpretty connection through the floor. There. That guarantees that even if I just break the assembler, that cable will still connect and all will be well. So, now, that just sort of runs off here. And let me go show you exactly what I built so that it's of value to me, and so that it, as little as possible, affects my defenses. In the corner here, I placed an open blocks elevator. For those of you who've never seen one, the elevator is nothing more than a single ender pearl surrounded by wool. If you color the wool, you get a different colored elevator, and so I put one in the floor down here and cleared this entire space out. What I did is I hopped down here and I went as far as I could and I punched a hole, and that allowed me to get, well, there's only one hole in my security system, in my base defense here of obsidian, and it's pointed downward and not particularly close to an edge. So I feel like I have a relatively safe connection to the outside world there, and in fact, just to safe this whole area up a little bit more, in a couple minutes I'm going to come in here and fill this area in with obsidian so that the blocks directly underneath the stairs are obsidian as well, and that will ensure that all this area is safe. So, now I have my connection to the network, and I'm going to use a tesseract for the moment for power. So, that gets me everything that I need inside this space, and it's a little bit claustrophobic by my standards, but I don't want to make another hole in the obsidian, which is what it would take if I dug one more layer. You know what? I think I just changed my mind. A little more space in here might be nice, and I'm going to put up with one more hole in my obsidian to make it happen. So, I'll be back in just a minute, folks, once I dig myself this hole right here, put in my elevator. Ooh, let me make sure I'm getting the right block, put in my elevator, and collect the things that I need to start making liquefacted coal and converting that into power down here. Hi folks, so I know most of you are calling me paranoid right now, but that's fine. I've built this little, shall we say, enclosure out of obsidian, and as far as I'm concerned, that's now pretty well sealed and mostly blast proof. So, now I have my power brought in. I might as well seal up this last one's cube right here. Nice. Now, I have in my inventory, I think, everything that I'm going to need to make this process work. So, let's set it up. First I need an export bus and an import bus and some power on 3 sides, with the 4th side free of this pulverizer. So let's see. If I set it up right, this little space seems to work for me. So if I export from one side, import from the top, give it power from the bottom, and connect it to the magma crucible over here, that's going to give me a perfect location to put my pulverizer. So now it's got power from the bottom. I wish to give it coal from this side. I wish it to export red to the left. Perfect. I wish it to export yellow to the top. There's my import bus. Now let me connect these up and wrench them till they point the correct direction. Good. All of that should be correct. Now I need to set this to import from the right, which it's already doing. No, I'm wrong. I want it to import blue from that side. And I think I'm going to have it... Nope, not. You'll see why in just a minute. I'm not going to go out that direction. I hear hissing noises. I assume that's things dying over there in the grinder. So that's probably a sound of happiness for me. Finally, let's see. Exporting from that side feels good. And for the moment, I'm going to run my energy conduit. I'm going to ignore the corner, and I'm going to run it like this. 1, 2, 6, that's 10, and that is the number of compression dynamos that I built. And that is all of them theoretically fed with liquefacted coal. So, let me go get a piece of coal. And we can work toward getting this process working. So, coal. 1 piece. And this may go through all of my coal very rapidly. I'm unsure. My understanding is that compression dynamos are extremely efficient in terms of their power use. So we'll see how well that particular theory works out. Let me set this export bus to export coal. See if this starts to fill up with coal. It does, just like I wanted it to. Now, again, I want red to go there and yellow to go there. And the first thing that we're going to do to get all of this running is get ourselves this connected to the mains. And it should receive power and kick this into work. So, this is for the moment getting power from our tesseract and from our main system, and it's pulverizing coal. And this pulverized coal is coming over here and starting to fill up the magma crucible. Good. So now, let me connect another machine to our tesseract power, and it's going to begin making us liquefacted coal out of this pulverized coal. Let me just look at the recipes for liquefacted coal. Let's see, we've got, well, what is the recipes for liquefacted coal? We can make it out of that, or we can make it out of Magic Bee's carbon drops, or out of buckets. So, this is the most efficient way for us to make it. And this pulverizer is nowhere near keeping up with this, but that's fine. Now what I want to see is, are any of these, they are starting to get some liquefacted coal, and are they all getting it evenly? They are not. Okay, so it's more likely to fill some than others. It's sort of a random process. Okay, now, are any of these turning on? No, at the moment they're enabled low. So I'm going to turn one of these on. And it should... It doesn't even have enough to start up yet. Let's find one of these that's the most full. So that's got half a bucket. If I tell it to produce power, it's doing nothing. Not yet. Ah, that's right. There is another fluid that these need. They need water to operate. I wish I hadn't put them against the wall now, but that's fine. They're not going to be too horrible when I'm all done. So, I need some more fluid duct, and I need an aqueous accumulator. It's a little bit of a waste, but I'm going to eat one of these pizzas because I like to. Nope. I need... Can I make one? There's an aqueous accumulator. There's a bucket and a second bucket of water. I've got some obsidian to make a water container out of, and I would like fluid ducts, which are here, here, stack. Good. Now, the second thing that these compression dynamos require is water to cool them down. I could use other things to cool them down, but quite frankly, they are most efficient if... I mean, they'll run for much longer on various other things, but there's no advantage, to me at least, in terms of running them that way. So let's see, what's the best way, what's the most space-efficient way for me to make water for this? I'm actually going to use a piece of the ceiling, I think, which is weird, but not exactly a problem. I'm going to put water there. I'm going to put... No. I'm going to put my aqueous... No. Let me think about this for just a minute, because I don't want these ducts to be a problem, so I don't want them to necessarily touch instantly. So why don't I say... I want water, aqueous accumulator, water. That makes sense. Let's put the aqueous accumulator down. Let's put our first fluid duct out of the bottom of it. Good. place our blocking pieces. One there makes sense. And this is going to make a little bit of a mess, but I don't mind. There's one. You'll notice it washed away my torches. That's one of the effects, but since I'm about to do a second one, there's no reason for me to try to fix it all right now. Oops. I put one more down than I wanted to. Now, let me fix the torches while the aqueous accumulator starts its startup. Let's see, I want one here. And one over here. That makes sense. So now, this should be full of water. And now I can run... I don't want that to be connected. That's just pumping water into my system. And now these are all connected to water, and so they will all function. Now I can connect here and disconnect this, and all of this is now running. This pulverizer is running off of these compression dynamos. My magma crucible is running off compression dynamos. The compression dynamos are going to reach full power relatively soon, and if I'm correct, let's see, at the moment their power output is dropping off as their internal power buffer fills. So I'm going to wait until their buffers are filled, and I'll be right back. Okay, there we go, folks. So these have all pretty much reached their maximum. They're all outputting power. Interesting, this one has no power at all. Maybe this is one of the ones that I... Yep. Got toggled over. Let me make sure all of these are doing what I want them to. That one's ignored. Make sure all of them are on ignored just so that they don't ever get turned off. Ignored. Good. Interesting. This one is outputting power faster than it can make it, and so it's ticking along at 80 RF a tick. All the rest of these are outputting 4. Okay, this one's off at 40s. I find that very odd, and just to troubleshoot it, I'm going to break that energy duct. It fills up, put it in, it drains right back out. Oh, no, it's not stabilizing. Okay, well, anyway, I'll troubleshoot a lot of that later. So now, basically what happens is, these are capable, if we go down to this one that keeps draining out, of producing 80 RF a tick. As they drain out, they produce less and less and get more and more stable. So, for example, this one here is running at 4 RF a tick. It's running at a 20th of its normal capacity, and therefore it's using much less fuel and less water, though at the moment water is irrelevant to us. So, we now have a power plant that's capable of making 800 RF a tick, but will stabilize at 40 RF a tick as its power production. Except that right here we're using 40, and this one over here is another 400. So this process is using a little bit. It's possible that this could use up to half of the power production of this line if this crucible running at full speed. And just to boost that process up a little bit to make sure that they all stay full of fuel, I'm going to come over here and get some of my pulverized coal and go refill that a little bit. Now, it is producing sulfur. Why is it? Because one of the byproducts of grinding up coal is sulfur. So I've now assured myself a slightly better sulfur supply, which is good. and I've assured myself a source of power, at least until I run out of coal, which should be quite a while. So, there we go. Now we're sucking up a little bit more power. Many of these dynamos are now dropping down. Power is being pulled out of them to run that magma crucible. And thus the magma crucible is producing fuel for all of them. So, once these are all full, then I'll be right back, and it's time for me to move my ME system. Okay, folks, so first, in terms of moving my ME system, what I intend to do is this. I've now removed all of the items that I need out of this ME drive, and so I'm going to break it, and it goes in my hand. Let me make sure there are no lighting problems up here left over from that, because I noticed there's a floating torch. Makes me think I'd put a torch up here for a reason, but I guess not. The next thing that I did is I pulled out in my hand all of the drives that are blank, and I want a ME IO port. What does it need that I don't have? Some cable. That's because I have all the cable in my hand right now. Just a silly choice, but nonetheless. Okay, so we're going to make an ME IO port, and I'm going to plug it in for the moment right there. What an ME IO port does is allows us to empty or fill drives. So, what I intend to do is go put this ME drive in on the network, which is why I brought cable. Here in the basement, because this is going to be the new location where I connect everything that I care about, because now it'll be safe and secure. So let's see, given that that torch is going to be in the way, and that I kind of like it to stay where it is, I'm going to put this drive right here. And then I'm going to connect it to the network, like so. It should now be live. And I'm going to put all 4 empty drives in. You'll notice one of them immediately began filling up, probably an indication that there were some things on the network that needed to go somewhere while I was moving stuff around. So, the next thing that we're going to do is get all the data out of here. So first I'm going to pull this drive out, and I'm going to set it drive to network and put it in here. So what this is going to do is begin dumping all the data off this drive. And as soon as it manages to get all the data off the drive, it moves it over there. So, let me take another one. Now it's dumping all the data that it can off of itself onto the network. And now it's over there. And I'm going to take the risk with just one more. The advantage of doing this, by the way, is it sort of defragments the network. If anyone has had a hard drive that had data that was scattered all around, you know that sometimes it doesn't use space so efficiently. Well, the ME network can be the same way. Now, you'll notice these drives now have stuff on them. That's because I forced the data off of those drives. So now we go back over here, and I'm going to do that with the rest of the drives. I'm pretty sure I can only do it with the data drives, that I don't have room for my fluid drive over there. There's that. And this one's got full as well of all of its bytes. So there it drains off. And I know I just moved 3 drives over there, so there should be space for all 3 of these drives worth of data in the house. There we go. Now I can take these 3 drives and put them down here knowing that all of my data is now safely stored in here in the house, and that it's probably been sorted appropriately by transferring it through the I/O drive. Now, there's one more piece of necessary data that I'd like to move, and I'm going to do it by pulling this fluid drive out and then breaking that. Now this should all still be connected, and it is. Good. And now I have, if you will, moved my data center in here into the vault. Now, I don't have, for example, all of my terminals in here, but now at least I know that all of my data is nice and safe in here. The next thing that I would really like to do is move my ME controller, and that's going to take my entire ME network offline for just a little bit, but it'll guarantee that my ME network continues to function despite me not having, you know, for example, if this whole area were to blow up or something were to go catastrophically wrong, I would still have all of my data because I would have access to this ME controller. Now, let me just make sure everything will route around it. So, this is not the best thing in the world to do, but now, for the moment, my ME network is completely offline. Anything that's relying on my ME network does not function right now. So I do this as quickly as I can, and it's a relatively rare action for me to complete. But I'm actually going to, since I have the opportunity, I'm going to remove this cable right there, and I'm going to put my ME controller here. That powers it now. It's completely off these compression dynamos, and it sucks up this 20,000, 2,000 Minecraft joules, gets itself up to full, and now it's running off of these, and my data's in here. So now my network is secure and trapped inside a nice safe bunker, as opposed to being out here where it's potentially at risk. Now, since I've now moved everything that I really care about out here, I'm going to grab a couple more things. That wasn't great. I don't know what I just lost, but it looks like a processor, and I don't want to lose a processor right now. Did I just get it? I did. Good. Okay, now let's put down this half slab, and that can take a half slab. Now, what else would I like to bring? I really don't need my fluid terminal out here anymore, so let's put a cable in its place. Yep. And the truth is, I don't need this I/O device either, so let's just go ahead and connect all these via cable like so. And that, and that, and this can go with me. And I've never had a use for this fluid storage monitor, so there's no reason for it to be sitting there. This is all still connected. This is still connected for my crafting device. Might as well move it as well. Everything's still connected that was supposed to be connected. Good. Now, I don't really want to come down into the basement to utilize these things. In fact, I sort of think that I'd like them right here. So, let's break ourselves a little hole. And I think right there is where I'm going to run my cabling. There we go. Now back upstairs. To put this piece of flooring back. And I think I'm going to put my crafting monitor down here. It's the thing that I'm least likely to access. In fact, you know what? I don't want it sticking out into the room. I would much prefer to put the crafting monitor here, the crafting terminal here, the fluid terminal here, and I have no use for the fluid storage monitor right now, and the I/O port I will use when I need to. So there we are. I've now moved almost my entire functional ME system here into my house, and just for safety's sake, I'm going to... I have no obsidian in the system. It's all over here. So, we've now moved my basic power production indoors, and that's still making obsidian as fast as it can. There's a stack. Good. And moved my ME system inside so that I can work with it in there. And I like that. That makes me feel safer and makes me feel like I'm, not so much at risk. Now, what's the recipe for the obsidian pressure plate? So I need 4 of these. What are the configuration options for it? I can make it shrouded, like that. I can make it silent, like that. And... okay, first I need to make it shrouded, which I'm pretty sure I used up almost all of my wool. What's my string look like? Just enough. Good. Now pressure plate. There. Now, I'm going to put these here and here, and I made that doorway too big, so I need some more obsidian to fill it in. Gets me some more safety, and iron, please. And there are 2 doors placed like so that I can get into and out of my house as easily as possible. So, there we are. Basic house configuration done. Basic basement configuration done. I think at some point I'm going to expand to this power plant just because I feel like I have more than enough coal. I can go find out this. I think all these are basically full now. Yeah. And this is used up all of its pulverized coal. It's not filling up its internal buffer yet. We'll get some more pulverized coal. Not used to this yet. And there we are. The internal buffer on this is beginning to fill up. And I believe once it's full, this will more than keep up with the engines that I have available. And likely what I'm going to do is add engines. Well, no, because these engines can run at a lot more power than they are. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to get just a little bit crazy. Crazy! No, not that kind of crazy. I want a... There we are. I would like a resonant energy cell. Means I need a redstone energy cell. There is a redstone energy cell frame. Can I make that? I can. Now, I need to fill that with 400 millibuckets of molten redstone, which is made by 40 redstone. Okay. So now let's make sure that this is set up to output out the back. It is. 40 redstone. Toss this in here. And as soon as this reaches 40, it'll fill. So I'll be right back once I have this filled, and we'll move on to the next step. There we go. It filled up. So now I would like to make the redstone energy cell, which is going to involve making a conductance coil. There we go. And then I'm immediately going to upgrade it to resonant. Now, I'm making quite a lot of power, or I'm capable of making quite a lot of power off this line. So I'm going to attach this to it and let it begin filling, and I'm going to tell it that its max input and its max output are as high as possible, and that it's ignored configuration-wise. So, that will force all these dynamos to kick up to maximum speed, and I want to see, at maximum speed, started when I came in here with 9, pulverized coal. It's now up to 12, and it's cooking one off. Back up to 12, up to 13 before it cooks one off. So at the moment, this pulverizer is able to make coal dust faster than these 10 can use it up at their maximum power. That's perfect. It's exactly how I wanted it to be. And this is now my new safety. This is going to fill up, and it'll hold 50 million redstone flux. And if I run out of coal or my other power systems shut down and die, I still have this, and I can move it over. I can switch it over to output, and it'll power this system, and all will be well. I will have my ME system back on the network. So, there's some safety. I'll be right back in a minute, folks. Okay, folks, I just attached 5 more, and I'm going to repeat the exact same test. That's full. These should all be emptying once they're completely empty. There we are. Yeah, all of them should be at their empty point. This is at 10 right now. There's 9, 10, 11, 10, 11, 10. It looks like we are still just slightly ahead of the break-even point, even sucking power off the system as fast as it's capable of going. I could probably finish the last 3 of these, so let's go ahead and test that. Be right back once I have them made. Okay, folks, now the whole system is stabilized. Once you add new dynamos, each one of them has to fill up, and then each one of them has to charge up, which dumps almost all the liquefied coal out of here. So it takes a little while for the system to re-stabilize after all of that. But it looks like it's pretty much done so. So, now, one more test. Slap that down. It's at max charge. It's charging as fast as it can. 12 is our benchmark. Looks like we are still advancing, but just barely. I could extend this out and add as much as 4 more before I hit the wall, but I think I'm kind of happy with this. At the moment, I've got 18 of these running, and that seems to just about max out the pulverizer and max out the magma crucible in terms of what they can run if I tap max demand. So, there we are, folks. There is the first generation of my new power system. And now I'm going to discuss what I'm going to do in between episodes to make our next power system. I'm typing in the wrong box again. Now, what I would like to move to running my base off is the bioreactor, which is made from fermented spider eyes and slime balls, and a fermented spider eye I can simply make out of sugar and a spider eye that I have. And what the bioreactor, my understanding is, makes twice as much power as each one of those generators down below, and it runs off fuel from this biofuel generator, which requires some blaze rods, which is fine, because I have a quest in my hardcore questing book that involves, come on, and under learning to skyblock, there are, by the way, some new quests that I'd really like to do, but right here, we must go deeper once, is a quest that involves making an auto brewer, and to make an auto brewer requires me to be able to type, and the auto brewer, where are you? There you are, requires a brewing stand, and brewing stands are made out of blaze rods. But, doll. If we take an angry doll and we toss it into a barrel full of lava, it will spawn a blaze for us. And that's made out of blaze powder, glowstone powder, and nether wart. So, I have 231 nether wart, 1,248 glowstone, and 1,330 blaze powder. I have plenty to make that. So, I'm going to set myself up a little blaze fighting spot somewhere around here, probably down over here in this bunker area that I built and set up my little squid pond in, so that I can easily kill a blaze anytime I'd like to. And then I'm going to use it to complete that quest, make the auto spawner. I'm probably going to do all of that on camera next time. What I do need to do in between is the bioreactor, the biofuel generator, runs off of all sorts of biological waste. In other words, things like seeds, things like saplings. And I need to gather the list of them, and then I need to build myself some farms to grow those things. Because if I'm going to be making lots of fuel, I need to make sure I have a lot of resources to work from. And the way the biofuel generator works is if I just fed it seeds, it would make biofuel. But if I hand it all of the 9 things that it wants and or needs to make its self-efficient, it will make much, much more fuel each time it makes fuel, and it's multiplicative, it's not additive. In other words, by giving it all 9 things that it cares about, it will make more than 9 times, much more than 9 times, as much fuel each tick. So, I'm going to do a little research, figure out what farms I need, set myself up some more farms over there. It looks like I'm going to need to troubleshoot the farms that I have over there. And when I show up next time, it'll be time to fight blazes and set ourselves up a little more fuel production. See you next time, folks.